Hi friends, it's Julia. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. Today I'm sharing some cards that I created using my June 2019 Counterfeit Kit Challenge kit. I had been using Janet over at RTS. Her 4x4 series is inspiration for this, putting layouts together and cards together for this kit. And I got about midway through. I had finished my first 4 layouts and first 4 cards and had cut all the papers for my second set of 4s. And so I opted to take a little break from that and mass produce, if you will, some cards. I just needed a break from having all that structure. And so what I did was I pulled out supplies and made a one-page layout, and that helped quite a bit. But I still felt like I had a lot of supplies that I wasn't using and that I wanted to try and get used. So I pulled in some 3x4 cards and some cut-apart cards and opted to make some thank you cards. And so what I've done here is I have pulled in the cards, and now I'm just going through the supplies in my kit, through the letter stickers, and putting the word thanks on each of these cards. Now you'll see I'm using my ruler there, the edge of my ruler, to lay my tiles on or lay my letters on before I stick them down. I did not buy that fancy We Are Memory Keepers lettering tool until just recently, and I can tell you I haven't used it since I bought it, and it's been probably close to a year. So feeling a little bit of remorse, buyer's remorse on that deal. What I tend to do is use my rulers. I buy these ever so often, and then the sides are always all gunked up from adhesive from the stickers where I lay them on the edge before I put them on. I have nicked these rulers with razor edges because I don't always grab my ruler that has the metal edge on it. So, you know, and they're not expensive. You can buy them at Hobby Lobby for probably less than a couple of dollars, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember how much they were, but I know they weren't expensive at all. So here I am. I am putting the letter stickers down that I have with the kit. Now, I also needed what I felt like some black letter stickers, so I pull out my bin of small letter stickers, and I have those all divided up by color. And so I just pull out some black stickers and use those, the same as all the others. And I love those little rubber stickers from Freckled Fawn. Those are in the black color, and then I have with the kit, I have those in the yellow color. And you can see I have used those a heckin' ton, and yeah, those are getting close to the end of what I can do with them. But, you know, I'm going to keep them in there and keep working at them. So once I get all of these placed, once I get all the letter stickers placed that I want to create these titles, what I'm going to go through then is going into my my scraps. I keep my scraps beside my desk, just to the left side where, just off camera. I keep them sorted by color. I have a basket over there. I used to have a canvas tote, but to pick that up, it was a pretty cheap one, and the bottom piece was not very sturdy, and so it would flip and flop, and I have actually dropped it a couple of times and had scraps go everywhere. But inside of that, I keep plastic baggies with small scraps, smaller than 6 inches wide and all the way up to 12 inches tall. But the width part has to be, you know, 6 inches wide or less so that they will fit into the baggie itself. Anyway, so I keep those over there and use them to layer up a lot of cards. I use them for all sorts of things, but a lot of times I use them to layer cards or the different aspects with card making. So, yeah, I'm still working on getting the thank you down, the thanks down on these cards. Now, these cards, I was inspired by a sketch that I found over at the Page Maps website. On their card maps, every quarter they put out a new set of card sketches, and so that's what I utilized in creating these. Just a simple sketch from over there, and I didn't want anything uber fancy that was going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort on my part to get it done. I wanted something simple that would go together quick, and use lots of like the border strip, the branding strip that I pulled off of the papers that came with the paper pad that I had added in. And so, yeah. So you see my stack of scraps there, and I have gone through and I have pulled different bits and pieces that I want to try to utilize to create the backgrounds of my cards. I'm going to get my trimmer out and go to town on cutting these scraps up to create backgrounds. And I love this new tonic trimmer that I bought. I'm still using my regular trimmer from Fiskars, but I'm using this a little bit more as I'm getting more comfortable. I tried not to just throw myself into using it. I've kind of worked into using it. I primarily love to use it when I'm making cards. To me, that is when you need those finer cuts necessarily than you do with scrapbooking. I think it works great. I just have to remember to put that little handle down. Otherwise, it doesn't always give me a very straight edge. Sometimes it's a little crooked when I do that. Anywho, so I'm making all these cuts. I'm layering up everything. And I think that will give a plain card a very fancy look when you start fussy cutting. Not that I'm uber fancy and want these cards to look uber fancy. I want them to look nice, and I want whichever teacher that I give them to, I want her to be okay with handing them out to her parents or to the students or whatever. I want her to feel like, you know, it's not just a cheap little simple card. I want her to feel like it's a little bit more fancy, he or she, whoever. Both my two younger, well, my youngest middle granddaughter and my daughter-in-law's son are both in elementary school, and so that's where I provide a lot of this kind of stuff. And I'll be dividing up whatever leftover supplies. I'm doing a bit of a purge in my scrapbook room right now, and so when I get through with all of that, I'm going to take part of it with me to a retreat here in a while to see if anybody else wants it, and then whatever's left over is going to go to their classrooms. You know, teachers have to buy their own supplies, so or a lot of their own supplies, so I think anything craft-wise that you can give, as long as it's not completely worn out, I think they're going to get some use out of it. Most teachers are pretty creative that way and can make all kinds of stuff out of what you think is just absolutely nothing. I remember when my kids were little, I gave the school teacher crystal light containers. I just have a real hard time throwing those away because they are so useful because they come with a lid. And I remember giving her a whole sack full one time, and she called me like the next week after, and she's like, "Can I have more?" And I'm like, "Well, it's going to take a while to, you know, fill another bag, but how many more do you need?" And so, yeah, I kept her supplied in crystal light containers. Anywho, so back to card making. You can see I'm layering up there. I've gone through some of the scraps in my kit in order to place multiple layers behind some of these cards. And like that craft piece there, I don't think that was in my original kit. I think I pulled that in from my color bins, my scrap bins that I have over to the side. And so, yeah. I think that green paper there was in my stash. And you'll see that doesn't necessarily fit, but I'm going to make it work by piecing it together. Sometimes you don't have to be uber fancy with these cards because 9 times out of 10, cards go into the trash. I understand that. I think most of us who do make cards understand that. And hopefully nobody gets their feelings hurt because of it. I do these cards not with the understanding that anybody is going to keep them forever and ever. I do them with the idea that they will more than likely go into the trash. And that's okay. Whatever you decide to do with the cards that you make, okay. And if you get cards from people and you want to toss them, okay too. Yeah, I don't want to maintain control and thought process over something I give away. I want to let it go. Anywho, so you can see there, I'm pulling out lots of the bigger scraps that I feel like I can use to back some of this stuff with and use as my card bases as well. Yeah, so things are moving right along. Do you guys make bulk cards? What do you do with them? Do you give them away? Do you keep them? And I mean, do you give them away in bulk, like to school teachers or to friends, or do you keep them for yourself and dole them out you know, for special occasions or whatever. Just curious. I make a ton of cards that I give out on my own without giving them to the school, and then quite a few I do give to the school as well. So here I've got everything layered up, and I decide I want to use some border strips behind these. And so what I'm going to do is pull some of those branding strips out, because I can hide the, there was a hole punched in the middle of some of those branding strips, so I can utilize that here by hiding it behind the little thanks card on the front. That one I actually pulled out washi tape, and I'm going to show you as I glue everything together. Sometimes washi tape, Janet over at RTS has you putting it on white paper. That's a trick that she learned and has shared with all of us. And so I have done that over the years, and I still do that. And I have forced myself to do that with some of my recent kits, is before I even start with the kit, put some on plain white paper just to give it that extra pop. But for something like this, this was a fairly sheer washi tape, and I didn't want it to be super loud. So what I did was I doubled it up. I wanted it to be a little bit more noticeable than if it were just one single layer. So if you double layer it, it also leaves that sheer look to it, but it gives it a little pop. So here I've pulled out my enamel dots, and I've gone through and I've placed the enamel dots on there, and that card is basically done. So what I did now is I went through and I put all my cards together, put all the adhesive and enamel dots and border strips on there. And so now I've got this stamp, and this stamp came as one single piece with the flourish. The flower flourishes at the top and the bottom. Well, I did not want those on some of these sentiments. So what I did was I cut those little bits and pieces off. And it's okay, because if I decide at some point I want to use them, I will. When I put it on the stamping block, I can add to that. So for these first 3 cards, I'm going to use the same sentiment. And on the inside, well, I thought I had it right here in front of me. I had a different card. It says, "All I can say is wow, and of course, thank you." Very cute sentiment to go on the inside of those 3 cards. And you can see I don't have the card fronts down yet. I just have them sitting there to the side so that I know, you know, because I have some vertical and some horizontal cards to go through. And I have found with my close to my heart stamps, if you take your stamp and your stamp pad is good and wet, you know, it doesn't need to be sloppy wet where as soon as you mash down on it, it like overflows the little container, but it needs to be a good saturation when you mash your stamp down on it, so that you pick up appropriate amount of ink. And then when you put it down on the card, the thing is you want to hold pressure on it, but you don't want to uber mash it down, because if you mash it down super duper hard, that is going to like splooge out from the sides of whatever stamp that you're trying to make, and it's going to give your image more of a blurry look to it. But if you put just enough pressure to, it's almost like you hold the ink between the paper and the stamp, and you keep that consistently there, and you count to say 7 to 10, you will get a near perfect image every single time. There's a few instances when I haven't, when I've gotten, you know, a different, a not good coverage image, and I think that has mostly been because the stamp pad that I was using was not good and wet. So, you know, I want to say thanks to you guys for sticking around and watching my videos, and for all of my new subscribers, thank you so much for coming by and watching my videos and subscribing. To all of my subscribers, thank you. I really do this as inspiration. I go to retreats every now and again, but I don't have a lot of people locally that I scrapbook with. And so for me, when I am at a retreat or scrapbooking with someone else, I really pick up a lot of inspiration by watching them. So when I'm scrapbooking, you can guarantee I almost always have a video of someone who is scrapbooking going at the same time as I'm scrapbooking, and it gives me inspiration. And I'm hoping that's what these videos do for you. I'm hoping you play me along in your craft room while you're watching and, you know, kind of pay attention to me, but kind of pay attention to what you're doing too. And have a great time. And I hope these inspire you guys to get into your stash and pull out some of that older stuff and use it up, because that's primarily what I focus on. Don't get me wrong, I like getting new supplies, and I order fairly regularly from close to my heart. And I buy some newer supplies, but mostly what I buy is stuff on clearance. I buy it Tuesday morning. I buy other places where I find older supplies. I'm not opposed to buying the older stuff. It works for me. And the age of it doesn't matter, as long as I love the supply. And that's something I've learned over the course of time, is I only buy things if I truly love it anymore. I don't buy it always just because it's on sale. Anywho, enough of that. I just want to say thanks, guys, and I hope my videos inspire you, and I hope you stick around. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed, I would love for you to hit that subscription button and come back when I post new videos. If you click that bell, it will let you know when I put up a new video, which I try to do a couple of times at minimum a week. Anyway, this is it. These are my cards. I'm going to spread them all out here for you. And I so appreciate you being here today, guys. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.